Damien Aditya, the greatest escape magician on the show America's Got Talent, performed the Death Drop Escape Act, in which he was hung up in the air inside a wooden box with his hands cuffed and completely locked using the nails. The wooden box was hung above using the ropes, which was supported using the pulleys. Then the blowtorch was lit that broke the support of the ropes, and that would make the box fall over the 3 spikes that's strong enough to destroy anyone inside the box. And to make the act look even more dangerous, the spikes were set on fire. So the trap here is, Damien had to get out of the box before the blowtorch breaks the support rope and the box comes crashing down over the spikes and fire. But as we all know, Damien is an escape artist, and it's obvious that he has perfection and control over what he does. So, after the blowtorch was lit, Damien got his handcuffs easily opened, but he didn't have enough time to open the box, and the support rope was finally burnt and broken. But instead of the box just crashing down, the box just hung up above in the air. It was said to be a technical error, which created the tense moment between the judges and the audience on the show.
What went wrong then?
But suddenly, we see Damien come behind the judges and amaze them to a shock. So if you're really curious how he did it, then let's have a look. If you observe closely, behind the entire setup, you can find a black background that is slightly visible. And it is this backdrop that makes the entire trick come alive. When the box fell and got hung up in the air, Damien had a bypass from the backside of the box that got opened instantly, and, using a ladder, he came down behind that black background. And then, through the backstage, he made his appearance behind the judges to amaze them all. At number 2, the infamous sword swallow trick. Sword swallowing is a classical act that originated in India way back in 2000 BC by fakirs and priests who developed this art alongside many other famous acts. In Britain's Got Talent show, Alexander Magala performed the sword swallow act, with many calling it the most dangerous BGT act of all time. In this act, the sword swallower slid a blade down his throat and performed a variety of flips to the dismay of everyone present there. He then slid headfirst down a pole, stopping centimeters away from the blades of a chainsaw. In another variant of this trick performed around the world, the performers can be seen swallowing not just one, but multiple swords down their throat as if it's nothing, and then pulls it back out without any injury. So are the swords fake or real? And do they really swallow it all the way down? Well, here's how they perform this trick. There are 2 ways to do it, by way of illusion and in reality. The sheer danger that can happen in swallowing a sword through a person's mouth must have made many of you believe that this act is all an illusion than to believe that a person can actually guide a long sword all the way into his gut. But the fact is that swallowing a sword is not a trick, and the point of the sword actually enters the performer's gut. Also, this is a skill in which only 1 out of every 250 million people in the world can do perfectly. So this makes the practice quite dangerous, and it should never be tried anywhere by anyone. But how do they make that long sword enter so deep inside their body? Well, the act is an interaction between a human's upper gastrointestinal tract and a sword. And through years of practice, the performer has learned to stop his gag reflex from happening, and he even learned to line up the parts of his body into a straight line. So he controls his gag reflex, straightens his esophagus, and shoves that blunt sword right through his mouth to perform this scary act. Another secret is that the sword swallowing is basically just the sword being plastic, and when the performer pushes it into his mouth, it rolls up, and when he pulls the handle back, he keeps his lips tightly biting the sword blade so that the roll doesn't fall out easily. So now it's up to you to decide, do they swallow the sword for real, or take the help of a gimmick blade? So finally, the most dangerous trick on our list, the sword stabbing trick. James Moore once performed a great sword trick on Britain's Got Talent, where he got himself stabbed. First, the assistants placed James on the tip of the sword and left him. A few seconds later, the sword goes through his body, leaving the viewers and the judges completely in shock. The 2 helpers then lifted him off the sword, and he was all good. The trick generated quite a buzz and puzzled millions who just couldn't believe how he's done it. Well, here's the secret. James had a special support on his back, hidden under his clothes. And it also had a small slot to hold the sword in it. Now when the assistants place him on the top, the sharp tip of the sword falls and is hidden inside its bottom part, which then enters the hole in the support. This easily makes James balance in the air. At the same moment, a fake sword appears through his stomach, which has a device that creates an illusion of a sword going straight through him to create this shocking illusion. So guys, hope you got the secrets behind the most dangerous magic tricks of all time. Which trick was the most dangerous?